Test, test, test. Test, test, test. Audio, audio.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Codes and Regulation Committee meeting for November 21st. Before we begin our agenda, we first will have an invocation by Judy Moe of the Baha'i Center of Rockford, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Everybody. Dear Lord, thou art the Lord of all thy creation. I ask thee to please bless the affairs of this city council and help them to make decisions that will be the benefit of all the people of Rockford, regardless of race, religion, class, or economic status. Help our mayor and our city council to continue to make Rockford a better place for all of its inhabitants. And I will end with this prayer of Baha'u'llah. O thou who art the Lord of all lords, I testify that thou art the Lord of all creation and the educator of all beings, visible and invisible. I bear witness that thy power hath encompassed the entire universe, and that the hosts of the earth can never dismay thee, nor can the dominion of all peoples and nations deter thee from executing thy purpose. I confess that thou hast no desire except the regeneration of the whole world and the establishment of the unity of its peoples and the salvation of all them that dwell therein. Amen.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, before we move into our agenda, we also have three public speakers tonight. Each of you have 3 minutes to address the council. You can do so from either of the two microphones at the back of the room. And when the timer on my phone goes off, your 3 minutes are up. Our first speaker tonight is Ken Dickens.
Good evening. I will be using all my time tonight. Just want to run down a couple points for the future of this city, which appears, if you look closely, is going over Niagara Falls. And I'll explain. September, October, jobs reports. Big Corp first wave. They said this is the first wave. 6-figure earners. Amazon, FedEx, UPS, upper management. These are 6-figure earners. This is the first wave. AI and robotics took over their jobs. This is the canary in the coal mine. The second wave will be January, February. I'm saying this because this is on a national level, but it will impact Rockford, Illinois. Massive layoffs are expected nationwide. Massive. Massive foreclosure numbers are expected by the end of this year. The housing market is teetering on the brink of what we saw in 07, 08. But they're saying much worse. Much, much worse. We're currently in a recession. The U.S. is at 0% job creation. Existing positions are being taken over by robotics and AI. We are not creating jobs. Jobs are being absorbed by robotics and AI. All this correlates to Rockford because obviously you have to look forward to build a city, build its future, maintain stability so that people can feel comfortable purchasing homes and living in a city. If not, you have a mass exodus or you have a flight to other cities, other states, and then you have a diminishing population. Rockford doesn't really have a fiscal plan for the next 10 to 20 years. This is the bottom line. It doesn't. It's not drawing Fortune 500 companies here. It's not drawing Fortune 300 companies here. I don't know if anyone knows this little tidbit. If you build a jail in the middle of a city, you cannot attract Fortune 300 and Fortune 500 companies because they will not build within a 5-mile radius of a jail. I'm going to repeat that. They will not build within a 5-mile radius of a jail, and the people that decided to put the Justice Center there knew that when they signed the deal. So they basically signed a deal with the devil, right? Another tidbit. The Justice Center cuts a check to the city of Rockford for a guaranteed 80 to 90% occupancy rate. 80 to 90% occupancy rate. Anyone can find this out. Go to the Justice Center, ask them yourself. The city gets a guaranteed check based on 80 to 90% occupancy. What happens if it drops below 80 to 90% occupancy? There's no check. So why would you want opportunities to increase so that the jail population decreases? You wouldn't, because you wouldn't get a guaranteed check. Fast forward to the Regro grade. Why wasn't the Regro grade given out over the last 2 years? The only person that knows why is sitting right there. None of you know. I guarantee you don't know, because how many of you asked me, I don't know, Ken, what do you know? We don't know why it wasn't given out. So the fact that we're here now talking about spending it still, to me, does not make sense at all. It should have never been held up for 2 years. I remember when the alderman here, when she stood up and said, oh, well, the city, we're working with pulling the application down and rewriting it. What happened to that? I don't understand what's happening here, but I do know when you pull opportunities from the people of your city, you kill your future. And in honor of the deal that will be
Sorry, your time is up.
I do have a new hat. When you sign a deal with the devil, you have to pay
up.
the price.
Okay, our next speaker is Prophet Youssef.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. In the book of Philippians, the 4th chapter, the 13th verse, it says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthened me. What I want to speak about tonight, the real heroes in life. Those who serve the public are the real heroes in life. They faithfully carry out their everyday duties and regularly prepare to do heroic deeds when needed. They look out for those of us who are doing right and protect us from those who are doing wrong. And every once in a while, they get the honor they deserve. An article in the September 11, 2002 edition of the Time magazine tells the story of a father and his 8-year-old son leaving a New York Mets baseball game, as she stated. They approached an intersection where a New York City police officer was directing traffic. He stopped the cars and motioned to the father and son to cross. When they were right in front of the office, the little boy stopped and held out his baseball glove and asked, will you sign this for me, sir? The policeman was stunned. He bent down to eye level with the little boy and asked him, don't you want the autograph of a ball player or a coach? Why would you want a police signature? The little boy looked up at the officer with deep admiration and said, because it was you who saved my sister and my life when our house was on fire. And I didn't get a chance to thank you, but I'm going to thank you today. The events of September 11, 2001 should challenge all of us to be courageous, even courageous enough to be that kind of hero when it's needed. God called all of us to be real heroes in their own world. While that may not mean saving lives or protecting the public, it does mean making a difference in the lives of people around. Lord of courage, build in me fearless faith today so I can accomplish your will today. I also want to thank Mr. Fred Van Fleet, Hard Rock Casino, all the volunteers at Auburn High School, Winnebago County Sheriff, Rockford Police, the Rockford Fire Department, the Rescue Mission, Salvation Army, all the food pantries, Apostle Melvin Brown, his wife, Prophetess Sheila Brown, and all the churches and organizations that help the poor people in Rock. Thank God for them. They all need to get a standing ovation tonight in Rockford City Council. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. And our third and final speaker this evening is John Tech Brantley.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, all the persons and citizens of Rockford, Illinois, mostly those that's been watching, and they also been commenting about making sure they watch and see me when I do speak. I sent an email. I got an email from the mayor's office. I've been talking about apartheid, and I've also been talking about white privilege. South Africa implemented a series of legislation institutionalized segregation named as apartheid, and United States implemented similar measures through Jim Crow law. Both institutions were designed to segregate and disenfranchise non-white population. Booker Washington Center, 100 years ago, was reading blacks couldn't go in the downtown area, couldn't go across the river, and the only place they can go was Booker Washington Center. That's apartheid. And then the fact that the Crusader Clinic was founded by the Black Panther Party, but the system took over it. That's white privilege. We want to talk about the Rockford Police Department. The first time a black police officer could not arrest a white person until 1979 and the early 80s. Apartheid. It wasn't until John McNamara, his father, opened up the doors for the blacks to move to the downtown area and to the east side of the river. White privilege. The public aid building, east side. The Snooks grocery store, east side, and shut down. That's white privilege. Why in the Lord have mercy they shut down all these on Auburn and Central and carrying on? And what they say? White privilege. I can go on and on down the line talking about white privilege. And what irks me even more talking about white privilege and apartheid, Pastor Melvin Brown want to open up bought the Rockford Memorial Hospital. How will the city be against that? And what have, if anything, they should be embracing that. New York, California, L.A., Chicago, Philadelphia, Atlanta. When a black person gets $2 and $3 million, they embrace that black person. They're there to help that black person. They won at the board meeting 7-1. 3 blacks had the nerve to come down there to vote, to talk against them, open up Rockford Memorial Hospital. What you should be doing is trying to find out. Now, to make a long story short, we're taking the kids to the Stroll on State Street Parade this Saturday. This Sunday, we're taking them to see the Wicked, and my sponsors cover that. The biggest thing we're doing is taking 5 families to Walmart for Christmas. Walmart's going to match them and also going to give them a food box. The biggest thing we're going to do is the Harlem Gold Travelers is coming to Rockford. 98% of the people who go to the Harlem Gold Travelers are white. This 100 year of Harlem Gold Travelers anniversary, we finna match them by bringing 100 people to the Harlem Gold Travelers game, and the project is blessing us because we're going to have our kids to be able to interact with the basketball players. That's going to be unique. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Time is up.
Because I definitely want to get with your state senator because he always do basketball.
Okay. Okay, we have 8 items under committee reports. Before we do that, Clerk, would you please call the roll? Here. Thank you. Okay, the first item, number 1, is pre-annexation of 5581 Montague Road. The owner of the subject property is constructing a new home and has requested connection to city water for the property located at 5581 Montague Road. Is there a motion to approve? Are there any questions or comments on item 1? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 2, final plat of St. Luke Missionary Baptist Church of Rockford. This request is the result of a recent construction of a youth center building on the church property and the sanitary sewer connection requirements for Four Rivers Sanitation Authority. Is there a motion to approve? Are there any questions or comments on item 2? Seeing none, all signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 3, request to vacate right-of-way at 203 South Rockford Avenue, a portion of the alley. Is there a motion to approve? Are there any questions or comments on item 3? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, 1869 North Perryville Road. Zoning Board of Appeals recommends approval for A, a special use permit for a fast food restaurant with a drive-through, and B, variation to allow a trash enclosure within the front yard setback in a C2 limited commercial zoning district. The applicant is Permit Solutions for McDonald's. Is there a motion to approve? Are there any questions or comments on item 4? Alderwoman Prenti.
Okay. Thank you for allowing me to ask my question. I received a few emails regarding this, and there were some concerns about some congestion that might be in the area. What were some of the concerns of the people who came to the committee?
Well, we heard people that had their own opinions as to what would happen at this intersection. Some people thought there'd be more traffic congestion. Some people said there'd be more noise, light pollution, things like that. Common statements from many objectors that you hear at when they are objecting to special use permits.
And then what? And were you all must not have been in agreement with them? Is that correct?
No, we were not. We approved this from the staff perspective, and our traffic engineer looked at this, and the trip generations are not going to be significant and won't have any negative impact based on the design of the intersection at Rote and Perryville. So it'll be able to handle the traffic easily.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Alderman Frost, then Alderman Bell.
Speaker, your committee chair. I've spoken to Mr. Capavella, and I've seen the drawings, and my only concern, and I'm not sure if I know there were some issues raised at the ZBA by residents and maybe some ZBA members, but my biggest concern is the trash and waste containers that in the drawing are really at the intersection almost of Perryville and Rote. So it would be at the southwest corner, and I guess I would just like to see some sort of amendment made where those can be moved. I mean, I know at various fast food locations they can hide or mask their containers and have in an area that's enclosed, and I'm sure these are enclosed, and hopefully, I think I asked that it would be nice if they can at least match whatever the building design is or material of the building. But my biggest concern is just the location, because when Perryville was initially built 30 years ago, and then over time as it evolved north, it was frankly the same developer. That was this financial corridor, and across the street you have a bank, and on the other side of Perryville you have some of the grade A office buildings, and then going north as well. And so if folks are traveling on Perryville, it would be nice if they're stopped there that they're not looking at the backside, which they are, the backside of the McDonald's, or they're looking at the drive-through and then having to see the containers as well. So if those could be moved, I don't know, further to the east, more near the exit, and a garbage truck can get there just easier than they can actually get here, because this would require the truck probably to go around the drive-through or back in the entire length. So it's an idea. Maybe just I understand it approved, and I don't know what the committee's opinion is on having the McDonald's there. I mean, it's zoned enough that it meets the requirements, and there's already enough other things that have come in that area that have kind of denigrated from its original purpose. But it would be nice to see them move those containers. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Frost. So I was at the ZBA meeting, and if I recall, and Mr. Capavilla can correct me if I'm wrong, it was a 4-2 vote of the committee, and there were some concerns raised by the ZBA members who voted against this, the dumpster being one of them. So I would make a motion that we amend item B to request that the developer move the dumpster to a different side of the property that is less visible from the intersection of Perryville and Rote Road, giving the developer not requiring where it would go, but just that it not go there. So I would make a motion to amend item B to that effect.
Can you clarify this? Your motion?
Sure. Amend item B, requiring the developer to move the dumpster to a different side of the property that's less visible from the intersection of Perryville and Rote Road. Is there a second? Any discussion on the motion only? Let's go to Alderwoman Prunty and then Alderman Frost. I'm sorry, Alderman Durkee.
Thank you, Chair.
No, Alderwoman Prunty, then Alderman Durkee. I called you Alderman Frost.
All right.
I insulted you.
Thank you. I realize that is a concern, and I do understand. Just wondering, which one of these proposals is more doable, moving it or sheltering it in a manner that is aesthetically pleasing?
Well,
or both?
Alderwoman Prunty, that we have a requirement that they have to be enclosed, all the dumpsters, and it would be of material very similar to that of the building, so that's part of our ordinance requirements. So it would be screened and it wouldn't be visible, but you'd still see those. I think that's the point Alderman Frost is making. They're still going to be very visible at the intersection.
And with, if you move it, it would still be screened too, right?
Correct.
And is there, what the Fourth Ward Alderman described was that there were better places to move it to. That is the correct? Or
Well,
other places, maybe not better, but other places where it could be moved?
Well, we had discussions with McDonald's about having it in a different location, and they couldn't do it on the north side because it was going to interfere with their double drive-through lane and the bypass lane. So that location, which would be up near Perryville Road as well, but there was discussions about putting it to the east, and they thought that, in their opinion, they didn't like that idea. Could it be done? I'm not a site layout expert. I'm a little bit of an amateur, actually, but I usually have pretty good foresight into some of these things. I think you could probably engineer it as such if you really wanted to, but the site that they chose, when we discussed it, seemed like the best alternative.
Okay, and one last question. Changing their site plan would not prevent this project from going through, or could it prevent this project from going through?
No, it would not, I don't think. We'd have to work with McDonald's on an alternative site for the dumpsters. But it would just be, instead of in that front yard, it's going to be in the front yard along Rote Road.
And you said plural, so they have multiple dumpsters?
They usually have at least 3 dumpsters.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Frost. I'm sorry, Alderman Durkee. Might want to check me for a small stroke when we leave.
Thank you, Chair. I'll speak to your motion. The part of the McDonald's problem is they're landlocked because I think the border of the planned unit development is just to the east of this, so they're kind of squeezed into this lot, best as I can recall. The other is the reason for putting the dumpster in that corner is their delivery truck may not be able to, they basically have said the delivery truck may not be able to make the turn around there. That's per their comment. They have offered to put up plantings, a lot of greenery along that enclosure to make it a little more aesthetically pleasing. So I think the renderings show that when you look at it. So just a matter of clarification.
Okay. Thank you. Alderman Bell.
Thanks, Chairman. A lot of discussion on this topic. I'm going to make a motion to lay this item over to give staff more time to talk with the developer on the amendment and the potential changes.
If I could ask legal, I think we have a motion on the floor to amend it. Don't we have to vote on that first?
Yes, with that motion on the floor, we need to vote on the amendment first.
I'll call the question, and then can we take a vote and then move forward, please? Yes.
Well, you're calling the question on the motion to reconsider.
On your motion.
Okay.
On your motion.
Okay. Well, then let's have a roll call vote on the, if I could get, before we do that, clarification from legal. If we vote to amend it and then we lay it over, when it comes back as amended?
Yes, that would be correct.
Okay. Okay. If we could have a roll call vote on the motion to amend without reciting the specific language again that would require movement of the dumpster from the proposed location.
Bonnie?
Aye.
Tarina? Conti? No. Wilkins? No. Bell?
No.
1 aye, 4 noes.
Okay, motion fails. And Alderman Bell, do you want to make a motion to lay this over?
I'll make a motion to lay this item over, please.
Can we have a roll call vote on that as well?
Bonnie?
Yes. No, I vote no. I'm sorry.
Tarina? Conti? Wilkins? Bell?
Aye.
4 ayes.
Okay, motion carries. Item 6 is 2515 Kilburn Avenue, 3144 Summerdale Avenue, and 31XX Summerdale Avenue. Liquor and Tobacco Advisory Board recommends approval for A, the sale of liquor by the drink class L50, and B, the sale of packaged liquor class PKG in conjunction with the restaurant with an outdoor seating area, beer garden, and video gaming terminals in a C2 limited commercial zoning district and R1 single-family residential zoning district at 2515 Kilburn Avenue, 3144 Summerdale Avenue, 3144 Summerdale Avenue, and 31XX Summerdale Avenue. Todd Hoover, Hoover Investments, LLC, doing business as Poorhouse Restaurant and Bar, is the applicant. Is there a motion to approve? Are there any questions or comments on this item? We did. Let's finish this and come back to it. Is there a motion to approve item 6? Any questions or comments on item 6? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Let's go back to item 5. I wrote all over it. 27 North Winnebago Street and 22XX Midway Drive. Zoning Board of Appeals recommends approval for A, variation to reduce the minimum required front yard setback from 30 feet to 20 feet for a 6 by 20 foot front deck, and B, variation to increase the maximum allowed height of a fence in the front yard from along Midway Drive from 4 feet to 6 feet in an R1 single-family residential zoning district at 3027 North Winnebago Street and 22XX Midway Drive. Ladia M. Turner is the applicant. Is there a motion to approve? Are there any questions or comments on item 5? Alderwoman Granith.
Thank you for allowing me to speak on your committee. My constituent came forward with these variances and is in agreement with these variances. So I would respectfully ask your support for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. That takes us to item 7, which is 202 North Main Street. Liquor and Tobacco Advisory Board recommends approval for A, the sale of beer and wine by the drink class NGWB, and B, the sale of packaged beer and wine class PKG in conjunction with a wine bar in a C4 urban mixed-use zoning district at 202 North Main Street. Mark Peter Podemski and Lucretia Riston, Palace Wine, doing business as Palace Wine Bar, are the applicants. Is there a motion to approve? Are there any questions or comments on item 7? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And item 8 is 505 North Madison Street. Liquor and Tobacco Advisory Board recommends approval for the sale of liquor by the drink class NGL in conjunction with the restaurant, bar, and entertainment facility with outdoor seating in a C4 urban mixed-use zoning district. Brian Hewells, Cahoots Rockford, LLC, doing business as Cahoots Rockford, is the applicant. Is there a motion to approve? Are there any questions or comments on item 8? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And we have one item under resolutions, which is the Festival of Lights. This is an annual event that will take place in Sinnissippi Park, located at 1401 North 2nd Street. The light show will be displayed on the following dates: November 28th through November 30th from 5 to 11 p.m., December 4th through December 7th, the same hours, 5 to 11 p.m., December 11th through December 14th, also the same hours from 5 to 11 p.m., as well as those hours on December 15th through December 24th, and then 24 hours on December 24th and December 25th, and again from 5 to 11 p.m., December 26th through December 28th, and on New Year's Eve, December 31st, 5 p.m. until midnight. Is there a motion to approve? Any questions or comments on item 1? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. 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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.
I'd like to call to order the Planning and Development Committee meeting for Monday, November 24th, 2025. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Here.
Here.
Present.
Here. Thank you. There is one item tonight on the agenda. Item number 1 is approval of the 2026 Annual Action Plan, Citizen Participation Plan, and amendments to 2020 through 2024 Annual Action Plan. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Are there any discussions or questions? Alderwoman Meeks.
Thank you so much. I guess my biggest question is for a person that is not in the room. Oh, there you are. Oh my God.
Right here.
Like, oh my God, that's so weird. I was like, you're not behind
know who
Bertie.
you'd be looking for.
You're there. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so I wanted to, I know that there's a difference between the Department of Health and Human Services, CDBG dollars, and the CDBG dollars that we're talking about here. But I'm under the impression there are some major changes that are taking place on the federal level with regards to permanent housing, transitional housing, maybe homelessness programs, the continuum of care. And so I wonder if we have addressed or at least worked together to come with what the solutions will look like for 26 with that information.
Sure, so that is new in developing information, and it's really a great question. Right now what we're doing is, and when we started this planning process, we don't have the federal budget, so we're using the estimation of what we were allocated in 25, and then we're running the plan through with our usual assumptions, and the audiences being, like you said, we usually do a certain work with CDBG and home dollars, and then ESG and the continuum of care serve a different audience normally. So this plan was developed with that thinking. We like it to ride alongside the same timing as the overall city budget, so we do it before the allocations come out sometimes, but we just try and make sure that we're staying in cadence with the full budget, so that's why our timing is now normally. So we would be asking for approval on this. However, to your point, there are some changing things happening, and in the permanent supportive housing world right now, we're still trying to figure that out, right? Where that will land. We have a meeting on Wednesday to talk about that. Potentially, home could be a resource. So home is something that we've held for LIHTC developments. We've done some first-time home buyer programs with it, but potentially it's something that we could look at for if that comes to fruition, the changes that are happening in the COC, if there really is going to be some impact in our area, we will then, once Director Parham and that team has really figured out with their network what Rockford needs, we'll assess and see what we need to do. Then we would come back and do a substantial amendment, because then we would know like what our amount, what the program is that's needed, and we'd come back and propose that.
So how closely do you work with those other departments to come up with this proposal? Because I'm finding that though they don't all mesh, they all are addressing some of the same things.
Right.
And especially when we talk about lead service lines and the connection there and making sure that the people that are being helped in these arenas are also the ones that are being addressed, because that's where the most funding is coming from. So I know that we're getting into 2026. I guess I'm under the impression that there are rule changes that are taking effect in 2026.
Not with these funding sources so far. Potentially there could be, right? Like the budget discussion is still in a continuing, right, resolution. CDBG was unchanged in both the Senate and House proposed. Along the way, CDBG has been unchanged so far. Home is one that they're playing with. So again, we don't have any of those for this particular funding and this particular plan. But to answer your bigger question, our Health and Human Services Department writes the homeless section of this plan. They're very involved. And then for ESG, we manage the reporting for them, but like we work together. Right now we're working on bringing their policy and procedure into the new regulations. So our two teams work pretty regularly together on crafting what's going to address what audience and how we're going to roll out the programs. They present with us when we do the hearings also. So Owen Carter usually presents with us.
So you all work together during those times, and it's there's a piece of me that really wants to kind of lay this item over so that there can be more discussion about what that would look like for our future. I'd love to be able to kind of plan that out before making a decision. Is that a barrier for you? Because I do understand there's time constraints for this. You need to have this submitted so the federal government can then submit their budget, is what I understood.
Yeah, I mean, this, I think the timing thing that we need more than the 2026 plan is on the amendment, and then on the citizen participation plan. There's 3 items here. Yeah, so the annual action plan, again, this is our normal time of year to come through because we do it at the same time as the budget. The annual action plan, that particular part we could take more time on that if we needed to. The other 2 are some cleanup things that we need to be able to submit.
And so then with regards to the change in the citizens or the
Citizen participation plan.
Participation and the input for special accommodations, I think it was changed from 48 hours to 5 days. Can you help me understand the reasoning for that?
We publish our hearing dates at least 2 weeks ahead of any of the hearings. And so we just are making sure that we have enough time. If you need sign language interpreter, that takes some scheduling. Like, we don't necessarily set up all of the language. We always have Spanish speaking people there, but we have quite a few other languages in Rockford now. And we have sparse attendance, but so getting anything set up ahead would be overkill in most cases, but we do want to be ready, right? Like, we do want to be able to be responsive, and we do try and do outreach to the different communities. We just feel like we'd probably need more time with some of the more unusual or to find or get on someone's schedule to make sure they're at hearings. So
does that mean then that if they don't request that accommodation within 5 days, they are not able to be accommodated for the public comment?
Not really. They might at that hearing, we might not have the right interpreter there for them, but we would absolutely, because we always do the hearing in the middle of our comment period, so we would have time then to arrange a personal interaction and answer their questions and go over with somebody directly for them. It might just not be at the hearing that we're holding on that day if we don't have enough notice. Does that make sense?
And 2 days isn't enough notice to get someone a translator?
I think we had a couple times where someone, we did and someone canceled, or we did, there was just something that happened, so we want a little bit more time to give us a buffer to make sure someone was there. But again, we always follow up. If someone comes to a meeting, we follow up with them after they come, and if they needed anything, we would get that one-on-one and set up a time with them.
Okay, well, I don't know how to go about this, but I would like to make that request to hold out on the annual 2026 annual action plan. I don't mind moving forward with the citizen participation plan, even though I don't think I'm going to be saying yes to the 5 days. I just don't think so. And the amendments to the 2020 and 2024 annual action plan. So I don't know how to go about that request and separating the items to ask for a layover.
I'll defer over to legal for that, if we can split that. Sorry, 1 second.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So if I understand correctly, you would like to separate out the citizen participation plan to have more discussion on that item?
Yeah, and just to clarify, I'm only saying that because I'm under the impression that we need to move forward with those items, but if I could lay it all over, I'd be okay with that too. But since I can't, then how do I go about that?
So I think it would be appropriate to just have a motion to lay over the citizen participation plan until the next meeting, or,
I think she actually wants to lay over the 2026 annual action plan.
Correct.
Oh, I'm sorry. So it would be the motion to lay over the 2026 annual action plan, and then the committee can address that item, and then the remaining items would be before the committee.
Because there's a meeting on Wednesday, you said you'd be able to sit and discuss anything that would be potentially helpful in this final plan.
Just to provide a little bit of information related to the comments of Alderwoman Meeks as well as Director Lies. The funding disruption that being discussed is related to the continuum of care managed by our Health and Human Services Department. And, recently the federal government had released a notice of funding opportunity related to the continuum of care. Our Health and Human Services staff were meeting with our partners in Boone and DeKalb counties, understanding that the continuum of care has a regional funding approach. That meeting was taking place on Friday, and then we are internally scheduled to understand how the revised notice of funding opportunity may impact funding to the continuum of care and what grants might be available or not available to a number of our regional partners through this process. I would also note that we have engaged our federal delegation related to this potential change and how it may impact our community. I know there's been quite a bit of communication with a number of our local delegation to HUD's office related to this matter. And as this continues to advance forward, we'll make sure that we keep the council abreast, as this is just all relatively new information to our staff. And the reason why I was clicking on the exact date and it jumped to the webinar, so my apologies again.
Is there a second to Alderwoman Meeks' motion? Is there any questions or comments on the?
I actually don't have a question on the motion or on the layover, but wanted to ask Ms. Lays on the different objectives, goals that you have set out there for the different sectors.
I'm sorry, Alderman Salgado. Can we take his question with the motion on the floor?
The only portion debatable is the basis for whether the layover is appropriate for the 2026 annual action plan as moved by Alderwoman Meeks.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments for the layover? I'll do a roll call vote.
Durkee? Aye. Wilkins?
Aye.
Salgado?
Aye.
Meeks?
Aye.
4 ayes.
Thank you. So this item will be held out. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Are there any questions or comments from the committee? Can we?
I'm sorry.
I believe Alderman Thunberg is trying to speak on that.
Sorry.
I'm going to say no. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Same sign. This meeting is adjourned.
Good evening. Welcome to the Finance and Personnel Committee tonight, Monday, November 24th. Sir Clerk, if you please take roll. Here. Cross. Here. 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 Thank you. First, under information only, we have a financial discussion for the month of October. Who's presenting? Gary?
Thank you, sir. So in the general fund, revenue performance is following, again, the trends that we've seen so far this year, with use tax and replacement tax underperforming. Replacement tax, after 7 of 8 disbursements, is 40% under budget, or about $6 million. In total, the general fund revenues are underperforming by about 1.6%, or just under $3 million for the year. On the expense side, total general fund expenditures are 6% under budget, or about $11 million year to date. We have in the CIP, and CIP sales tax is outperforming budget significantly by about 12%, for a total revenue impact in the fund of 9.4%, or $1.8 million in revenue collected above estimates. In the redevelopment fund, we have overperformance of about 10% in hotel motel tax, 7% in restaurant tax, offset by slight underperformance in packaged liquor tax, a total of 7% overperformance. And the casino revenue is approximately $500,000 under the $7 million revenue guarantee year to date. I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Alderman Beach.
Why is the guarantee under?
The revenue is not, if we look at the fiscal year as 1/12 of the $7 million revenue guarantee each month received, they have not hit that mark yet. The revenue guarantee is just that. It's a guarantee that if the taxes generated from the casino do not hit the $7 million mark, that Hard Rock will pay the city the difference. So we monitor this so that we know at the end of the year what we need to go back to Hard Rock, if anything, to collect to meet that $7 million guarantee.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Alderman Bell.
Thank you, Chairman, for allowing me to speak on your committee. Director, are you able to email us a summary of what you just shared with us?
Well, it's all in the
memo. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, the memo is there. I just kind of pick some
Okay.
of the salient points from the first couple pages.
All right. Alderman Meeks.
Much for allowing me to speak in your committee. I just have a silly question. Is there any way that Hard Rock could say, no, I'm not giving you that money?
Well, they're obligated to do so under the host community agreement that we executed with them.
Thank you. I just wanted to understand that. Thanks so much.
All right. Moving on, item B is also information only. It is a change order for sidewalk repairs. The original amount was $765,602. There's a $90,158 change order, and this includes additional work to ensure full compliance with ADA standards. The funding source is the CDBG. Thank you. Yes, Alderman Grant.
Is there a reason why we didn't know this cost before we walked into the grants, or walked into this contract with them?
Just when you get out and actually do the construction, sometimes you have to change grades more than expected to meet ADA compliance. And it creates a whole host of issues. So
it's really not a change of the rules from ADA. It's more so when we get out to the field, we see changes, and then
if we have to adjust the elevation of a sidewalk, and that impacts the driveway aprons, and so sometimes those things happen.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Moving on to committee reports. Item A is approval of vouchers in the amount of $20,038,009.91. Is there a motion to approve vouchers? Second. Any questions or comments on vouchers? Alderman Beach.
I just have a question here, Mr. Chairman. Where it shows the funds coming from, in other words, the funds to be expended from, it shows debt service a little over $6 million. To me, it looks like that's a fund with money in it. and the first checkout was for debt service for $11 million. Is that difference somewhere else in the different various funds?
Secretary.
Yes. So under our bond covenants, some of the annual debt service payments are made directly from other funds. The water fund, for example, debt service is charged directly there. The debt service payments in total of $11 million reflects our annual bond payments. Some of those, and again, I apologize, I think some of those are coming from other sources besides directly the debt service fund.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? All right. All those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item B is a funding request for land purchase for a new fire station in the amount of $500,000. The funding sources are, but are not limited to, the Cannabis Fund and the Casino Fund. Is there a motion to approve the funding request? Alderman Turmeric? Do you have a question or making the motion? Well, first we need a motion. Is there a motion to approve or no? All right. Seeing none, the matter fails as for lack of a motion. Item C is the fiscal year 2026 through 20. We're going to skip that to the end. I'm sorry. We're going to move on to resolutions. Item A is award a bid for Newburgh Road resurfacing 2026 to Rock Road Companies in the amount of $2,272,646.54. The contract duration is through June 26, 2026. The funding source is the 1% infrastructure sales tax. Is there a motion to approve the award?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments for staff? Alderman Bell, did you have your hand up? Go ahead.
Quick question, maybe to Director Sanders or Mr. Cagnoni. So with the 1% sales tax, can you just educate me on this, please? Are the funds from the 1% sales tax able to be transferred to the Public Works, or portion of it to the Public Works budget for staff salaries? And if so, which positions are able to be paid for through that fund?
Mr. Cagnoni?
Thanks, Chairman. So Alderman Bell, the short answer is yes. And the capital improvement plan, approved on an annual basis does include staffing costs associated with the CIP. So the number of staff members in Public Works Department that facilitate the CIP on an annual basis, their staffing cost is covered with the 1%.
Okay. Last question.
Is it about Newburgh?
Say it again?
Is it about Newburgh Road?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Just leading up to it. So, $2.2 million, could this project potentially, or some of it, and does it all have to be done at once, could some of the funds or all be allocated over to Public Works salaries for 2026? Like, if we lay this over until next year.
So there's already funds budgeted for staffing costs related to Public Works CIP, both in 2025 and again in 2026. On an annual basis, City Council approves an annual capital improvement plan as well as a 5-year window related to those capital improvement plans. So this is us implementing the plan that has been approved by our council.
Gotcha.
So could any plan be adjusted? Absolutely, but that's why it's in front of us this evening.
Gotcha. I just, I don't think, plan is going as smoothly as we thought when it comes to the deficit that we're embarking on. And would just like to see more options as it relates to filling the deficit. And so I wanted to ask those questions just to see if this was a potential. I did happen to have a conversation or a few about this same project and another that was actually in my ward. And so don't know, what the urgency behind this one is, but it is before us today. And given the fact that we're headed into discussion about the budget, I know I'm not on this committee, but would love just a little bit more time for this council to see if this is an option. If not for this project, maybe another. But just looking at it, just wanted to put that on the record. And if we could have a discussion, that would be awesome, should this committee want to lay it over.
I mean, Chairman, I'd be happy to respond. I believe Director Haggerty talked about funds and fund restrictions in the past, and we wouldn't see that the 1% sales tax would be a solution for the general fund deficit. Obviously, we are in the middle of budget conversations, and there's been a number of suggestions and possibilities out there that we didn't see the 1% as a feasible option.
Just to clarify really quick from my understanding, so you may have missed it. You said that this would not be feasible for us to fill the deficit, correct?
The general fund deficit, that is correct.
Correct. So I think we need maybe just a little bit more conversation. At least I do. Would love to have more conversations about this, because my first question I asked, could some or all of these dollars be used for public work salaries? In the budget. What's the urgency behind this project? I guess is what I'm
So those are two different questions, yeah. And I'll let Director Haggerty provide additional information related to the fund restrictions related to the 1% sales tax and how we're already funding public works staff with the 1% sales tax related to the capital improvement plan.
For the whole department?
Well, not the whole department. We would have to have eligible expenses for the 1% sales tax versus just anything. As it relates to this particular item, certainly we're constantly pushing all our capital improvements forward as quick as we can, and certainly this time of the year is a good time to award projects and then get additional projects bid. So we'll be pushing on the 5-year CIP as well, but ultimately it's at the discretion of the committee if they want to lay an item over for more discussion.
Yeah, I wasn't, necessarily. I would love to see it laid over, but wasn't trying to put anyone on the spot here. I do, though, want to have the uncomfortable conversations, and if this is able to be moved around or held off, I don't see a problem with that. But
Thank
I'll
you.
turn it over to you.
So correct me if I'm wrong. With respect to this item being a CIP budgetary issue, if we were to, I think what Alderman Bell is somewhat trying to say is if you kicked it down the road into next year, then we would clear up $2.2 million to spend on our budget. And if I'm not mistaken, that cannot happen because the 1% infrastructure sales tax used for CIP cannot be transferred into the general fund, correct?
So we have a number of funds that's correct. According to the referendum that the public approved, authorizing the CAP sales tax, those funds were to be used for capital investment. So we do pay for public works staff from the CAP fund, including CAP sales tax, but those are staff that are involved in design, oversight, planning related to those capital improvements. We have not ever used any of the CAP sales tax to pay for maintenance salaries, maintenance staff salaries, or maintenance efforts in the general fund. And I would consider that to be against the referendum that was approved by the voters. That restricted that investment to capital.
Okay, thank you.
Just to clarify.
You have another question?
Yes.
Is it about Newburgh?
Yes.
Or about the general fund versus the CIP fund?
About this.
I'm sorry, about what?
May I ask my question?
I'm asking though, is it about Newburgh? Or
yes, it's about the item.
Okay, go ahead and ask the question about Newburgh.
So in no way was I trying to replace the regrow fund and use the CIP funds to just fill the deficit. I was asking, are we able to move these dollars over? So I would love to have more conversations to get more information about it.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Alderman Bonney.
Thank you, Chairman. Are we even on Newburgh Road on the agenda? Are we still on CIP?
No, we're actually on item A, which is about approving a bid for the Newburgh Road project
Okay,
at 2.2
so,
million.
sure, to explain to the 13th Ward Alderman why this project is so urgent. It's been on the CIP for years that the council has approved repeatedly. I argued to advance it last year when we advanced several resurfacing projects, including Spring Creek, Alpine, Riverside, Mulford, and and I'll come to that, Alderman Thunberg. And the explanation for why Newburgh was not included was because there had been some repair work done there that left it with a higher pavement quality index than the other projects that hadn't had some patchwork done. The year prior, I believe I argued when we advanced Auburn Street reconstruction from not even within the 5-year CIP all the way to the front of the list, that against that made a proposal to do something different with those funds that only gained 5 votes and failed. So Newburgh has been waiting its turn for a long, long time.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm sorry, I wasn't done, but I think Alderman Bell was interrupting me.
Okay, I'm sorry. I heard the pause.
Speak again if you come back to me.
No, go ahead. No. Go ahead, Alderman Bonney.
Okay, thank you. So I think it's, he denies that this is about funding or restoring or preserving the cannabis fund, but what he's really trying to do is pay salaries out of the general fund so that then those salaries can be perhaps diverted to the cannabis fund. So it's just a shell game, despite what he says. He's trying to hijack East Side money for the West Side. And so I would be opposed to laying this item over. And in addition to that, I want to thank the Director Sanders and Tim Hinkins for working with me to expand this project from what it was originally intended to include a sidewalk gap project in Newburgh, so that there is a pedestrian connection from the designated bike lane on Arnold east, or west rather, past an RMTD bus stop, and to Alpine Pool and to the retail that is at Alpine and Newburgh at Colonial Village, which by the time you hit that, you're actually in the 10th Ward in Alderman Beach's ward. So I think this is a project that is long overdue, and it is insulting to propose delaying this in order to achieve some other budget outcome, but not actually admit that that's what you're trying to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item B is an award of bid for lead service line replacement Phase A to N-Track in the amount of $4 million based on unit pricing. The contract duration is 1 year, and the funding source is the IEPA State Revolving Fund. Is there a motion to approve the bid? Any questions or comments for staff? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item C is a rejection of a bid and solicit new bids for the garage commercial light labor. We received 3 bid responses. However, 2 bid responses were disqualified due to documentation errors. So staff would like to reject it and rebid it. Is there a motion to approve the rejection? Any questions or comments for staff? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item D is the acceptance of the Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority Violence Against Women Act. It's a multidisciplinary team response program grant award in the amount of $700,000. This grant does require a match of $233,333. The award is for 1 year. The grant award, if accepted, will provide funds used to support staff position and fringe benefits, staff training, travel, office supplies, survivor supports, and City of Rockford indirect costs. Is there a motion to approve the grant? Any questions or comments for staff? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item E is an approval of the Rosecrans Consolidated Sub-Recipient Agreement. The Department of Housing and Urban Development has provided the City of Rockford with $1,079,840 for a continuum of care program, and the City is permitted under program rules to subgrant these funds to partner agencies. The Health and Human Services Department requests approval to subgrant $1,049,712 to Rosecrans for housing and supportive services, and the City will retain $30,128 for administrative costs. Is there a motion to approve the agreement? Are there any questions or comments for staff? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item F is approval of a Rosecrans 2003 subrecipient agreement. The Department of HUD has approved the City of Rockford with $202,459 for a continuum of care program, and the City is permitted under the same rules to have partner agencies. The Health and Human Services requesting a subgrant of $196,818 to Rosecrans for housing and supportive services for eligible clients, and the City will retain $5,641 for administrative costs. Is there a motion to approve the agreement? Any questions or comments for staff? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item G is an award of a non-competitive contract for Child Plus annual subscription in an amount not to exceed an annual amount of $44,092. The contract duration is through December 31, 2026, and the source is the Head Start grant. Is there a motion to approve? Any questions or comments for staff? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item H is an award of bid for Fire Station 6 renovation Phase 2 to Scandrolli Construction in the amount of $512,783. This is a one-time purchase or expense, and the funding source is the 2025-26 gaming tax revenue. Is there a motion to approve the bid? Any questions or comments about the plan? Alderman Thunberg.
Just a comment. It was very interesting to look this over and see that I would commend all the businesses who bid on this project. Very interesting to see that they were literally within a couple $1,000s of each other. Sometimes we see some of these bids come and they are so far apart it's almost humorous. But this was an absolute tight one, so thank you to all those companies that bid on this, and thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item I is an award of a joint purchasing contract for janitorial supplies to HD Supply in the amount of $105,000. The contract duration is through May 31, 2027, with 3 possible one-year extension options. The funding sources are various operating budgets. Is there a motion to approve? Any questions or comments for staff? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye? Opposed? Matter passes. All right. At this time, we'll jump back in the agenda and invite all the team players for present information on our 2026 through 2030 capital improvement program.
I just wanted to thank you, Chairman Frost, committee members, council members, for giving us audience tonight. This is a big night for Public Works. This is our award nomination night as we look forward. It's been special. As someone who has watched this process from afar from years, it's been pretty amazing to have a front row seat. And as many of you know through the meetings we've held, the effort that goes into this by people in front of you and many more is amazing, and it's almost continual throughout the year. But the months of work that lead to this document and this roadmap is to be appreciated. Tonight, I want to thank, before we get started even, Jeremy Finley, our Public Works Business Manager, Tim Hinkins, City Engineer, Jamie Rote, the Water Superintendent, and Ken Matson, our CIP Manager. Jeremy, you're back there too. Our traffic engineer, a lot of people involved in this, Matt Ballarge and Steve Sumner, too many more to mention. I think through the passing of the 1% sales tax, what this is fulfillment of a promise we made to our taxpayers, that we would make this commitment to honor the trust that was put in us to bring forward improvements that both work as economic development, address matters of public safety, just improve quality of life for our residents and businesses across the city. But this year, once again, I think we're bringing forward the biggest single-year capital investment the city's ever done. It's something to be proud of. You should all be proud for the role you've played in making sure the funds are there and identifying these projects. And I'm going to ask our business manager, Jeremy Finley, to get us kicked off here.
Thank you, Scott, for that introduction. I'll get right into it. This first slide is showing what fiscal year 2026 looks like from a revenue and program distribution standpoint. As you can see, once we account for program adjustments for 2026, the CIP will have about $31 million between the three funds, sales tax, motor fuel tax, and the CIP general fund. That's what's being shown on the left pie chart there. Then on the right, on the distribution side of things, we are still heavily invested in the arterial and collector streets program as we work to finish up the streak of big road reconstructions that we've been working on. The other program that has increased greatly from 25 to 2026 is the Community Enhancement and Economic Development Program. This program was only at $1.3 million last year in 2025, but it has now ballooned up to $23.7 million for 2026 due to the Rockford Complete Streets Revitalization Project set to begin next year. I will allow Tim to go into the details on what that all entails. Next slide, please. Similarly, this is looking at the next 4 years, so from 2027 to 2030 of the CIP. Over those 4 years, it is our estimation that the city will have roughly $177 million in program revenues, including grant funding, while expending just shy of $179 million. Of note, the way the pie chart on the right's proportions have shifted from the previous slide. That orange slice that highlighting the arterial and collector streets program, if you remember, it was at $39 million just for 2026, and then for 27 through 30, it is at $36.2 million for all 4 of those years. So, like I said, as I mentioned before, once we finish up these big, expensive road reconstructions, we can get back to more resurfacings that are cheaper and allows us to impact more roads. Next slide, please. Now we shift to water. Similar to the engineering, this is just a high-level overview of looking at 2026 of revenue and program distribution. just a quick note of the asterisk there is the revenues highlight what we are pursuing as a water division, but the program distribution only highlights funding we have secured to this point. So that is why the discrepancy there. Next slide, please. And then more of the same here. Obviously, the road with lead coming down the tracks, we're going to be going for a lot more lead money, but obviously we have not secured much in that regard from 27 to 30 yet. So if no one has any questions, I'll shift over to Tim.
All right. So as Scott mentioned, we received quite a bit of funding through the state this past year, and that coupled with a fairly aggressive water lead service line replacement program. You can see, once again, we are proposing the largest, at $385 million, the largest 5-year capital improvement program in the sales tax era. And speaking just for the non-water items in the CIP, so your roads and bridges, we will be at the peak of our spending this upcoming year for 2026. You can see the green, blue, and yellow are our local funding funds, while the dark red are the outside funds and grants that were received. The red line represents our forecasted revenues coming up. So we did do a bunch of saving in previous years. A little bit of overspending in 2027 will lead to some just slight underspending in 28 and 29 to get us back level in the 5-year CIP in 2030. And we'll talk about some of that planning coming up. The CIP, for those new to the committee and council, it consists of 11 different categories. We have that Jamie and I will go over here, fairly highlighting some of the fiscal year 26 projects especially. And before I get into it, this slide I always like showing because it's asked about quite a bit on how we select projects. Way beyond existing conditions, I won't get into all of these categories, but a lot goes into how we select a project, how they fit into our city values beyond just the existing condition. So, starting with the neighborhood program, this is the same exact graph as we showed you last year, except that red line has gone 1 year further into fiscal year 2026. You may remember the general fund injection into the ward plans to get us that spike in the funding for last year. So we're going back to the original plan of increasing over time, over the next 5 years, gradually increasing the ward plan allocation to get us eventually to the $500,000. Now, this is a graph of the capital roadway program of where we've been and where we're going. And this really shows how expensive these large transformative reconstruction roadway projects are, where we were able to only do 1 to 2 roads a year to get to 2025, 2026. As I was saying, we were saving, so we could overspend in 26 and 27. Some of these funds of MFT funds, and here we are in 2026. Now it's my goal, it's our goal to get over this hump so we can get back to the cheaper resurfacings, maintaining what we have out there. And I think it's fairly attainable to get to 10 to 12 roads a year instead of the 1 to 2 roads that you're seeing now. So getting into some highlighting projects, some of our major projects coming up. This is Madison Street Phase 1, all complete and lit up. We will be extending these same improvements down the road from Prairie Street all the way down to Y Boulevard, starting in the spring of 2026. The same goes for the 11th Street corridor. Now the Phase 1 of the 11th Street corridor was not quite complete yet this year due to some of those ComEd issues that we were having, but the road will be back open on Wednesday and over the winter, and starting next spring we will get into both Phase 1 and Phase 2, and so ultimately what that means is we'll have a brand new complete street of 11th Street from Harrison Avenue all the way to Charles Street. This is the Auburn Street corridor improvements. This was quite a huge undertaking for our staff. It's a very large project. This is the implementation of the Auburn Street corridor improvements from Springfield Avenue all the way to Main Street. And so we can get started as soon as spring of next year. We broke this into 3 phases to construct over 2 years. So let me see if I can try and explain this what I'm showing here. So phase 1, which we will bring in front of this committee, a recommended award for construction this winter, so we can start this spring, is the replacement of water main and lead services from Central Avenue all the way to Main Street. This will include the road diet and resurfacing. It will include the sidewalk on the north side of the street, the separated bike path and multi-use path on the south side of the street. And in the middle of this, in phase 2, is where we're going to completely replace that Auburn Street Bridge over Kent Creek, where it crosses the state route and where it crosses the railroad tracks. All 3 of those elements include outside state agency and railroad agency approvals that we don't anticipate getting until sometime next year. But we didn't want to hold up the phase 1. So we're going to start phase 1 spring of next year. Phase 2 will follow next year, as well as phase 3 will follow next year, which is the extension of that multi-use path on the south side and the pavement improvements to Springfield and a sidewalk on the north side. Essentially, this gives a walking, skating, bike path from Auburn High School all the way to the North Main Street bike path. So to the traveling public, this will be one large 2-year-long project. Then we also are matching the development times and opening days of the RVC development and RMTD development in downtown on the west side there. You can see those highlighted roads we plan on resurfacing to support those developments. Now, the last couple of years, I've talked about how our bridge program is in much fairer condition compared to our roadway network. These are the numbers that kind of prove that out. So I really want to get into our bridge program because the answer isn't to forget completely about the bridge program. We do still need to repair and replace a lot of these structures, but the good news is that there's funding out there, outside funding, where we don't have to use our sales tax to use it. We can utilize some of the state and federal fundings. One of those programs is the IDOT Local Project Program, which called out for projects this past summer. The city submitted an application for the 15th Avenue Bridge over the Rock River. You can see here that the picture might look like it's in fair condition. You know, everything on the surface looks good, but what our divers have seen and our inspectors have seen is that this bridge sits on untreated timber piles from when it was built in 1936. And we've given this bridge less than 5 years of useful life left, and so we need to replace this soon. So we submitted an application for this. The state had $400 million out to give all agencies in the state of Illinois. They received over 1,900 applications, over $5 billion worth of requests. And as you can see with the highlighted there, the City of Rockford's 15th Avenue project was given the most by far of any of the projects in the state of Illinois, including the City of Chicago, the CTA, all those other local agencies. Very proud of getting this. What this means is that at zero cost to our local dollars, this bridge, using federal and state money, will be reconstructed over the Rock River in 2027, which this graph shows. This graph will also show that in the next 3 years, we plan on replacing 7 of our 109 structures in the city. And that is, for the most part, using 0 to 20% of our local tax funds. These are state and federally funded bridges. Moving on to our stormwater program, we're focusing next year on addressing some of the emerging things that we've seen along the Rock River, like this stabilization project. The Rock River bank is eroding towards within 10 feet of that rails to trails path, so we're going to stop that. And as soon as this winter or spring, probably more likely in the spring, we'll have a project construction recommend to you. Also, our Keith Creek widening project within Churchill Park to alleviate some of the flooding that happens around there. We are engineering it right now. We're getting the permits ready to go so we can apply for some federal funding for this. Our maintenance program, this is where you're going to see the pavement preservation program. That is where we go out there on those roads that are in fair condition, but right about ready to hit that really steep slide of the deterioration curve that we've shown in graphs before here. Our active transportation program goes towards addressing all those sidewalk requests that all you and we get here as staff that come in, as well as our Rockford Riverwalk project, and this is where our project management team manages the workforce development program. Our traffic program, this goes towards a lot of the safety countermeasures and neighborhood safety countermeasures that we do. We anticipate using this to implement some of whatever the pedestrian task force may end up resulting in recommending that we've currently been going with here. And then the final chapter for me, the community enhancement and economic development program. One of the reasons, like Jeremy said, why this program went up so much is because it includes that $17 million federal grant, as well as state participation in the Rockford Complete Streets Revitalization Project, which takes that line area and resurfaces that road, including streetscape along this downtown area, and then converts one vehicular lane to two-way bike lane separated traffic here. Big project. We're looking to award that or have the letting in February so we can start this in the spring. You probably see this trend here of a lot of work starting this spring. And then finally, I want to end, before I give it over to Jamie, on the Reconnect Rockford project. This is near the Whitman Interchange. Hit a little snag in August where the U.S. DOT took away their $7 million funding for this project from us. But I will say within 2 weeks, within a 2-week time span, after talking to the state of Illinois and reminding them of the importance and transformation of this project really, and how this project really reconnects Rockford, they came in and saved the day by providing a $9 million commitment to this project, thus fully refunding this project completely, and we're looking forward to getting this going and starting construction in 27. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Jamie.
Perfect. Thank you, Tim. So as we look forward to 2026, you will see several large production and water main replacement projects. The first project I'd like to discuss is our Well 45 Reservoir Reconstruction Project. This project is located at our Water Division headquarters, so 1111 Cedar Street, and includes the replacement of the existing 100-year-old 5 million gallon reservoir. It also includes improvements to our site so that the lab is more accessible to the public. It will also include moving or relocating the Waterworks Park, which is dedicated to Officer Rice, and also includes constructing a maintenance garage for meter inventory and water system equipment. Our next project, Our next project that will be bid out early next year is Well 46 Treatment Plant. This new plant is located near 11th Street and Leonard Road and will be critical to supporting the central hydraulic zone and the development occurring around the airport. This project will also include a 5 million gallon reservoir and water main extensions to support that new plant. The last production project I'd like to go over is the addition of a tower in the East High hydraulic zone. This project will be located at Springwheat Drive and Rybrook Road and is currently under design with anticipated bidding in the spring or early 2027. This project will increase our storage, improve our zone hydraulics, and also support the development that's occurring along that I-90 corridor. Moving on to our distribution section, you'll see many large water main projects, replacement projects being completed in partnership with engineering, many of which Tim has covered. But they include Auburn Street from Central Avenue to North Main Street, 11th Street from Broadway to Charles Street, and Madison Street from Prairie Street to White Boulevard. So finally moving on to the new chapter in our CIP book, and one that will impact the city significantly, is lead service line replacements. To give a little bit of background, the city started actually seeking funding for replacement in 2019. And to date, we have received $32 million of funding through the State Revolving Fund, the SRF. We have received approximately $25.5 million in principal forgiveness and about $6.5 million in loans. So we've been very successful in seeking and obtaining funding. As we look at replacements, we replace lead service lines through 3 different programs. The first is a phased target area, which is inventory-based and is funded utilizing SRF. The second is through emergencies or maintenance. So when your line has a break or a leak, or we somehow disturb that line, you now qualify for a lead service line replacement from main to meter. And that is funded through our operations fund. And then the third way is through water main replacement. So anytime that we're replacing water main and a lead service line connects to that water main, that service now qualifies for a complete replacement from main to meter. So currently our inventory-based program, base lead service line replacement program, we're wrapping up phase 7. Phase 8 is before the committee, before the committee tonight. And then phase 9 and 10 are currently out to bid. So to date, since 2017, because we started replacing lead service lines prior to receiving any SRF funding, we've replaced approximately 3,500 lead service lines. So looking forward at our program, in October of 2024, the US EPA issued the Lead and Copper Rule Improvement, so the LCRI. When you review the LCRI, it has very specific requirements and mandates, some of which I've listed here. But the most impactful requirement is that beginning in 2027, the city will have 10 years to replace all lead service lines within our community. We currently have 30,000 suspected lead service lines, and those will now have to be replaced within 10 years starting in 2027. So we will need to increase our replacement rate from approximately 550 to 600 services per year to 3,000 per year. So it's a pretty big impact on our current program. So as we look to next year and beyond, 2026, we'll see conversations and actions surrounding project implementations. So we will need to go from replacing approximately $4 million in lead service lines to $50 million in 2027. We will need to increase staffing for regulatory tracking, communications, customer assistance, GIS, and contract management. We'll need to increase consulting contracts for construction observation, scheduling, and loan management, and other regulatory items. We will see an increase in lab costs for sampling. We'll also need to review strengthening our city ordinances regarding lead service lines and engage our cost of service consultants to review existing rates and rate structures. Taken together, these efforts will position us to meet the rising regulatory demands and maintain compliance. With that, we'll take any questions that you guys have.
I thank you so much. Alden Beach.
I grabbed the wrong thing here. Is this general questions? So I want to say to you, first of all, I'm amazed at the work that gets done, projects that's done. I appreciate that. I have 2 more comments to make. One is that I'm always concerned that our Alderman Street program still hangs around $500,000. And I don't want to take a lot of time. You know my feeling is that we're getting a whole lot less today than we did 10 years ago, 5 years ago. So I'm just going to put that out again to say I'm disappointed that we can't find a way through all of this to increase that. And I appreciate what happened last year. But the thing that really concerns me, we had a very serious conversation in your office here the last week, is how in the world are we ever going to meet that mandate by the federal government that could cost $50 million. And it doesn't even address the lead lines that are in the residence. So we can have all the best water in the world coming up to the house and nothing going into the house where people have lead. In any way, how they can address that issue. So this 10-year mandate to get it done, in my opinion, is ridiculous. To think that this city or any city can come up with that kind of funding, let alone try to put it on the backs of those who have a water bill coming every month. Because I have no idea how in the world this is going to be funded. So that's not yours. I'm not saying you're saying this. You're saying to us what's been said to you. And you're passing on that information to us, and I'm responding to it. I just tell you, it's got to stop. And if they're going to mandate us to do certain things, then they ought to provide the funding for it. Or give us more time to do it. And I don't need to go any further. I think I'm giving you my heart. But you've got to get us together so we can start to figure out how we're going to not only deal with the lead line replacement coming up to the home, but how we are going to help the homeowners deal with that problem. I have no idea what it would cost to place the lines inside the home. I have no idea what that would be. But that's a big problem. And I thank you for being bold enough to put it out on the floor so all of us can hear it. But we've got to deal with it. It's a big nut to crack, and I'm very, very disappointed that our government is putting this on our shoulders one more time, ordering us to do something without means to fund it. So thank you for allowing Mr. Chairman to kind of express myself tonight, but I'm very disappointed in it.
No problem.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Alderman Salgado.
Thank you for allowing me to speak in your committee. I just have two questions, and maybe this is for Tim. You guys talk about having community meetings and to get the feedback on which streets and get some consensus, look at the engineering, the PCI, all that goes into it. So where does the alderman come into those conversations, to say, because I'll be honest, there's 14 of us here. We're going to say, hey, my streets, dude, go check it out. And so from your perspective, how do, we prioritize those? And because I'm looking at your pavement condition index, I look at my ward, I'm 42, and then I'm looking at the 7th ward, it's 43. What's the goal? Is it 50% and it's only asphalt? That's what I'm looking at right now. What is the goal, and how do you prioritize from that perspective, right? And so, because the other question that I have to that is, I noticed that some of the projects get pushed forward, that, were in, say, 2028, they get pushed over to 2030, right? And I understand that sometimes there's an urgency, there's a breakage or something happens, and so we kind of have to accelerate that. And so just wanted to get your thoughts or, your comments on that, on how that process all flows, and, is there a goal, to get everything to 50% or 50 PCI or whatever, and having that weighted average, perspective on the dollar allocation and what types of projects can be done from that. So it's a two question.
Yeah. Well, thank you for asking that question. I tried to keep $385 million within 10 minutes, or else I would have showed some slides, and I can surely come back in March or something with an update. I was able to give last year on our goal, the exact thing that you asked. And what we were able to show through our pavement preservation program was with the same funding, without asking for more revenue, with the revenue that we had, we were able to propose a goal of raising the overall pavement network throughout the entire city 1 PCI point per year indefinitely. So not just a 50, but to above that, using the same funding. The theoretical data that we have now, we're driving the streets as we speak to collect the PCI data that we can show next year. But from our theoretical output, the mere fact that the general fund was used to help with Mulford, Alpine, Spring Creek, Riverside, and Auburn shows that bumped it up itself by 2 PCI points itself by just that one-time injection, and that just helps get started with that graph. So the ultimate goal of resurface of the road network, getting into that graph that's more like the bridge program, is increasing it 1 point per year without raising revenues. Without raising, our 1% sales tax or expecting any additional revenue other than outside. How aldermen can get more engaged is a great question. We speak with each alderman during the winter here. Once this is approved, we get to work with the ward plans, and with those ward plans, we please invite us to your ward meetings so we can hear some of that. This year, Southworth Court, for instance, in the 6th Ward, was conceived out of a donut shop at your ward meeting, and multiple citizens coming along and saying, "You got to look at this road," and go, "Oh my goodness, that's crazy." So stuff like that, the advocacy of your neighborhoods, really are powerful. I went to a 1st and 2nd Street Bridge meeting last week where one of the residents came and said, "Can I take a lot of these handouts to give to my friends? I didn't realize that you guys were really listening to us, that you guys weren't telling us about the project, that you wanted us to pick and vote on a project here." So we really do listen.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so, just from those conversations, because there's always discussion when town halls are being held and, saying these streets need to be made. So, it's just, from the follow-up question that I have is, you propose the 2026, 28, 27, 28, 29, and 30. The question is there any flexibility there to make any adjustments? And I think we had those conversations a little bit when we met privately with your staff, is that some of these are locked in from that perspective. But my question is, once again, can some of these get moved around a little bit? You mentioned during the winter, you get the allocation for the CIP budget, and then we get to work, right? So, and we send out to your staff, here's the streets, here's the alleys, here's the sidewalks that right now where we're at. And so the question is, from that, is there any movement from that perspective, right? Obviously, the ones that we have funding, like the 15th, I'll give you an example. Like the 15th Avenue Bridge, that's already slated for, 2027, whatever. That's when we need to get to it. So the question that I have is, how much flexibility is there, right? And that's where I'm saying with 14 aldermen here, because I don't want to make it sound like we're fighting for funding or whatever. We're actually, based on what we see and what we get from residents' complaints, hey, this street, like we've talked about 15th Avenue from Kishwaukee, that's in 2030 now. So the question is, like, is there any movement that we can move it up or not? And what process do we go through that, and to ensure that we're not taking money off the table, or leaving money on the table if we were to make those decisions? And so that's where, that's my question.
Sure, if you don't mind me responding. So a couple things there. What we're asking committee to vote on tonight is the adoption of this plan. All plans can change. I think there's a lot of there's flexibility in there. I would, like you mentioned, I think that there are some things that we're kind of locked into. Continuing with Madison Street Phase 2 after Phase 1 was done. Continuing with some of these projects that we have outside federal and state funding for, I think are pretty locked in. One of the biggest changes that you see in this CIP is the fact that there are $5 million worth of repairs to the, it's either $5 or $6 million worth of repairs to the Harrison Avenue Bridge that was originally slated in 2028 that had to get, or 2029, and had to get pushed up to 2027 because our inspector said it won't last that long. So we had to move that up. And so, unfortunately, some of the arterials had to move back, and so that's some of the reason for that. But the adoption of this plan still requires staff to come back with every single individual agreement or expenditure of $25,000. So at that point, I think council can award or not, or reject at any point. And obviously, we're always here to listen to some of those things, and let's work together on any advocacy of any particular roads you have too.
Alderman Meeks.
Thank you so much for allowing me to speak on your committee. This question is for you, Jamie. First, can you tell me what material is being used for the new reservoir?
So it's a concrete with pre-stressed wire.
So I just wanted to commend you because the research that I did showed that these typically last only about 50 years or so. So it takes a lot of maintenance and care to preserve something for that long, 100 years. So thank you for the work that you do and the whole department and everyone for the work that you do to stretch things out as long as you all do. This is going to go into the lead service lines, and it kind of ties into some of the things that we talked about in the Planning and Development Committee with regards to CDBG dollars towards lead service lines. Can you give me kind of an idea of how many of the 3,500 that we've replaced in this city, how many of them are in CDBG eligible areas?
I would have to take a look at that and get back to you.
Okay. Is there a kind of a desire to shift the lead service lines to those particular areas within this department?
We would have to take a look at just where the areas are at. Right now with our SRF funding, we have to be very strategic and specific on where we're working every year to year. So I would have to take a look at how our current plan overlaps with that.
Because I find that there's more funding available when you're working in those eligible areas, that the people that are being addressed in those particular areas are the individuals that we're striving to work with and work for in our city through the Department of Health and Human Services, through the grant funding, through CDBG dollars, so on and so forth. So to me, it makes sense that we would want to work through those communities first. But I also want to ask, when we do kind of hit those kind of water main lines and then we get into the area to replace those lead service lines, what's the process to be able to hit up the rest of the kind of neighborhood so that we can replace those lead service lines in one whole strip versus a little bit here, a little bit there, because I love to be able to get it all done as much as possible, so then when it's time to do a resurface, we can get the lead service. I know Scott's like, yeah, I'm with you on that. We all want that, but I'm asking, is that like a possibility? Is that how what we're working towards?
Yep, that is what we're working towards, is to be able to coordinate so that we're able to complete lead service line replacement within 2 or 3 blocks, be able to wrap up that entire street or neighborhood, and then coordinate with engineering and resurfacing. So that we are working towards that goal. Part of it is getting everybody to sign up.
So can I assume that you are in this meeting on Wednesday with the Director for Community and Economic Development as well? Or someone from your department? To coordinate all of this?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
The meeting on Wednesday is more to specifically address what's coming through the COC, NOFO, and the language in there and what we might need to address as Rockford. It's not necessarily like home rehab or the types of issues that maybe CDBG could be helping alongside some of these programs. So Wednesday's a different meeting. It's for the homeless prevention side of what's going on with the COC.
Okay. All right, that's my question. Thank you so
Sure.
much.
Alderman Trina.
Thank you. I have made comments about this on social media and an email, but I do just want to make it public here. 15th Avenue Bridge, I just want to commend the staff. Tim and I, we were at a public engagement meeting maybe 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, and Tim was like, I'm confident we're going to get that grant. And I was like, okay, I see you, all right. So I loved his confidence, but he delivered. So thank you for your work, honestly, and for anyone else that was involved in that. It's a big deal. The residents are very pleased. The residents, when they found out at the last ward meeting, were just excited, and they're just interested in learning more. So I just want to, again, just publicly thank everyone that was involved in securing that grant. That was big. It's a big accomplishment for us. So I want to make sure that you understand that I know how big it was, and just want you to know how grateful I am for your work. So thank you. That's it. Thank you.
Alderman Thunberg.
Thank you, Chairman, and Fifth Ward Alderwoman. Thank you for taking over now on that bridge issue that has been an issue for many years. Yes. And Director Hinkins, Mr. Hinkins for taking over on that too, because that's those bridges have been a lot of topic of conversation over the years. Ward funding on that, I appreciate that we have voted to increase funding each year to our ward funding. That is, I think, very imperative. Unfortunately, as I've stated to many constituents, that we are pretty much just keeping pace with the increase in labor and material costs. So it's not really, our list has gotten that much bigger, longer, for more work to be done. So, but I think that's crucial that we have that increase each year till, I believe, 2029. The water hookups, I believe there's about 52,000 or so citywide water hookups.
Yep, 52,000 approximately active accounts.
Yeah, and the majority of those still to this day are lead service lines. As we are given a mandate by big government on this, we are looking at a high increase in water bill costs coming into effect, correct?
Yeah, that is what we'll be engaging with our cost of service consultant with early next year.
Okay. So thank you for our meeting, by the way, our 1-on-6 meeting, I believe. So the other week. If we are looking at, because to cover these costs, and I think the 10th Ward Alderman over there brought up some excellent points that I think most of us, or many of us, brought up in our meetings with Public Works regarding this CIP, that it is now put upon us to have this done within 10 years. If it is going to entail to try to make ends meet to accomplish this, again, that was mandated, put upon us by the federal government, that I hope that the city goes on or participates in a public relations campaign that when water bills go up to the amount that they may go up, that it's not just the city looking to line its coffers, it's actually big government mandating this on our municipality. So just maybe for future reference on that. I just want to make sure also to get on record that the construction in 2027 on the North Main Church two-way conversion is not just a typo.
It is not. No, that is funded by the state.
That's what I wanted to hear, as I think the mayor could also attest that this has been a conversation for many, many years, and to many of my constituents, I likened it to a Cubs fan. Maybe next year, and next year, and it kept going. So I just wanted to be on record that that isn't a typo. So it looks like 2027, we're finally in the ballpark for North Main Church two-way conversion. So thank you.
Alderman Durkee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a statement for curiosity. The Supreme Court, and I've read some pushback from some other states, the Supreme Court, I think it was this year or last year, threw out the Chevron deference doctrine, which basically means that federal agencies cannot pass certain rules unless they've been enacted by Congress. And as far as I know, that lead act was never passed by Congress, by the EPA, and certain people are starting to push back against that. Now, make no mistake, I think we need to replace the lead lines. They have to be done, and because they're not safe. But I think the feds looming over us, I think the Supremes took the teeth out of the EPA as far as what they can impose or not impose. So that may still be up in the air, I think. So, but I don't do this for a living. I'm not a lawyer. But they did. I don't know if you remember the case. It was the where this came up. It was the fishermen. They were out at sea, and I think it was not the EPA, may have been Department of Commerce. They were forced to pay for an inspector to be on their boat, and the fishermen out on the East Coast sued, and they where there was the Department of the Interior, somebody cited that act, which was never passed by anybody. And so basically, the fishermen won the case. So it may be interesting for us. I wouldn't necessarily get too excited about us having this huge mandate, but I do agree that it has to be done. So I came up twice, so I thought I'd clarify that. But I agree that it's a must-do job for the city.
Thank you. Yeah, I would agree with some of the comments made by the 10th Ward Alderman and now with the 1st, with respect to the federal, unmandated or mandated, unfunded issue that this creates with the timeline. It reminds me a little bit on the state level with our pension situation. So I don't know. I mean, I know you've done a great job of moving the needle since we've really been proactive with this, and with respect to what it would cost the city and vis-a-vis our residents through an increase in the water bills, it's going to be shocking and alarming. So I think, I don't know if we can reach out to our congressional delegates to see what, if anything, can be done. Is this a possibility that it gets deferred over more time? And because I don't know where we stand, with respect to our peer cities, right? Has everyone else been as aggressive as we've been in working on this, or is there time to defer over an extended amount of time, so we can just do a smaller amount per year with not such a great incremental cost to the residents. And with respect to the roads, Mr. Higgins, my only question to you, one of the slides you had stacked up on where we were, our kind of revenue stack, and you showed what I thought was a pretty significant decline in our sales tax revenue coming in the next, getting out toward, there. So the 2026, the blue is seems to be about double what it looks like it's going to be in 29 and 30. I didn't know what the basis was for that analysis.
I can explain that. So the blue from 2027 to 2030 should show around the same amount. It's that 2026. That is us using our savings from previous years and including that as revenue in 2026.
Okay. All right. Okay, that was it. Well, thank you. Keep up the great work, and I appreciate the time that I think your whole team took meeting with all of us over the last few weeks. It was very appreciated. Thank you. Alderman Prunty.
Yeah, thank you. Regarding the lead service lines, I know that we kind of talked about, thank you for all the alderpersons who have said that we know that we need this, and it has to be done for safety. Is there, and I know that there is going to be this rate increase, and you are looking to speak with your person to see what that could look like. Are there still grant opportunities that we could seek, or?
Yeah, we are going to continue to seek as much funding as possible and obtain principal forgiveness. So we are going to continue to go down that route and seek as much as we're able to get with the city.
Okay, thank you very much. The 30-year versus the 10-year, does that just seem more reasonable than letting a whole nother generation grow up with lead in their water? Does it?
Yeah, the 30-year, so the state had created a lead service line. It was a replacement program, and they had made a ruling, and that was going to be 30 years. And then the U.S. EPA came up with the LCRI, which was 10 years.
And what was their rationale for, well, because it's two different entities, but I mean, was it in your estimation, you are an expert in water, was that a good thing? Because I think I'm hearing people say, let's go talk to our legislators, and I'm like, well, if we're going to talk to our delegates at the federal level, are we telling them that it's not a good thing to hurry up and get this done, or we?
So we definitely want to get the lead out of the city of Rockford. All lead service lines need to be replaced. But there is a balance between replacing it in a time frame that is sustainable for the city.
And when you look at the possibility of a possible rate hike, I guess I don't see ever going back once you raise it. It's hard to see going back, but has that ever happened?
There are times that I have seen communities, they just hold either a rate or there would be no rate increase for a year.
For a time?
Yeah, for a period of time. But one of the things that we are very active in is that we review our rates annually to make sure that the rate that was previously proposed is something that is still needed. So if there is an opportunity to reduce rates, then we would.
We would. Okay. All right. All right. Thank you.
Alderman Beach.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I'm mistaken, then correct me now. But even if by some chance we made City of Rockford lead-free, how does that benefit the residents when they have lead pipes in their house that have not been replaced. We can say we've got perfect in Rockford as the water comes up to the line. But if the residents have lead in their house, how are they benefited by the fact that we're going to foot the bill to bring the city up to date? That's where I'm getting, I don't think I'm confused, but unless the residents' homes inside pipes are corrected, what good is the new water coming through it? Where am I missing that?
So one of the things is a lot of people don't have lead within their homes. They usually have galvanized or another type of material. But we do, when we replace to the meter, so that would be per the ruling, that's our jurisdiction from main to meter. And then after the meter, one of the things that the city does is we do feed, we have a corrosion control in place and we have extremely hard water. So there are methods that people could do. They could flush their line, so you just let your water run for a little bit, or we do feed that corrosion control that does coat that inside of that plumbing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Alderman Prunty.
I need clarity too. So it could there be more in what we do versus what's able to go through in the house? Could there be more lead in the part that we're responsible for versus what's able to get in the house? 'Cause I'm trying to get that same clarity too. Like you would be better off with some done than none done. Is that?
Yeah, so, replacing the lead service line all the way to the meter. So there are certain fixtures that do have, lead solder, but usually if you just would flush your line, turn your water on a little bit, let it run, once your service line is replaced, the only parts that you're really flushing would be that portion in your home.
Okay. And so you'd be finer.
Yeah, so a lot of people, they've upgraded, they do a lot of upgrades. A lot of it now is plastics or copper. So a lot of plumbing has been upgraded, but there are some homes that still do have older plumbing. Then that would be the recommendation from that point, would just be once your line is replaced to the meter to flush, just so that you're flushing that small portion that's in your home out before you're utilizing that water.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions, all those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. Is there a motion to approve the 2026 through 2030 capital improvement plan? All right, we've covered the questions, I believe. All those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn? Thank you. This means adjourned.